Learn this, and you will never lose your calm again with anyone or anything. Vertical bar, 15 Stoic lessons. YouTube. What if calm wasn't just a feeling, but a discipline that you could train like a muscle? Could your power lie not in what you say, or do but in what you choose not to react to? What if the deepest form of control isn't about changing the world, but mastering how you respond to it? Welcome to the Stoic Today YouTube. Please take a moment of your precious time and generosity to click the subscribe button. Comment. Thank you very much. Please listen to the next great content. What if I told you that your peace has never been in other people's hands? Not in what they say, not in what they do, not even in how much they try to hurt you. The truth is, no one has ever truly made you angry. They've only revealed where you haven't healed. Most people spend their lives reacting. They're emotional puppets pulled by strings they refuse to see. One comment ruins their day. One betrayal breaks their spirit. One misunderstanding turns into a war. But here's the Stoic truth. The world doesn't disturb you. You disturb yourself through your interpretation of the world. And if you could change that interpretation, if you could train your mind to see, pause, and choose differently, then nothing and no one could steal your calm again. This episode isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about rising above it. It's about learning how to master your reactions with such inner power that no insult penetrates, no chaos shakes you, and no person becomes your emotional master. So today, we walk through 15 Stoic lessons that will teach you how to never lose your calm again. Not with others, not with yourself, not even with life when it breaks your expectations. We begin with where anger comes from and why once you understand its root, its power disappears. 1. The origin of anger. Why do we get angry? Most people think it's because of what someone did. A lie, a betrayal, a disrespectful tone. But anger is rarely about the surface. It's almost never about what was said or done. Anger is a response to an expectation being broken. It's the pain of a deeper wound being touched. It's fear dressed up as fire. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology did. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Think about that. Anger, when it shows up, is not just about the moment. It's about everything underneath it. It's insecurity exposed, fear unacknowledged, ego wounded. When someone disrespects you, you may feel fury, but the fury is masking something deeper. The belief that your worth has been threatened, and yet that belief is yours. No one controls it but you. You see, anger often comes from trying to control things that were never yours to control. People's behavior, opinions, outcomes. We think they should have treated me better. This shouldn't have happened. They have no right. And maybe that's true. But anger arises when the gap between what is and what you wanted becomes too big to accept. The bigger the gap, the hotter the flame. The Stoic path doesn't ask you to feel nothing. It asks you to trace every emotion back to its source, to examine it, not indulge it. If you can recognize that your anger is a symptom, not a cause, you shift from reactivity to responsibility. That's not weakness, that's strength refined. So ask yourself, what am I really angry about? Not just the surface, the forgotten call, the harsh words, the broken promise. Go deeper. Is it fear of rejection? Is it the pain of not feeling heard? Is it the old belief that you're not enough being activated again? Because once you see anger clearly, its illusion dissolves. You begin to understand that it's not your enemy, it's your signal. And once you respond to that signal with awareness instead of explosion, you've already won. You don't need to suppress your anger, but you also don't need to become its servant. When you understand its origin, you take your power back. 2. The importance of silence to control anger. Have you ever regretted staying silent? Probably. But have you ever regretted exploding in anger? Almost always. In a world that rewards quick comebacks, brutal honesty, and dominance through words, silence has become underrated. Yet, it remains one of the most powerful tools in the Stoics' arsenal. Because silence is not weakness. It's restraint, it's wisdom, it's strength under control. Lasso once said, "Silence is a source of great strength," and the Stoics would have nodded in agreement because silence, the intentional kind, is not passive, it's strategic. It gives you time to see things clearly, to separate the offense from your ego, to pause long enough for the fire to fade before it becomes destruction. You see, when anger hits, your body reacts first. Heart rate rises, muscles tense, your brain floods with adrenaline, and that moment, that heat, is when most people lash out. But here's the truth: the first words you speak in anger are usually the ones you wish you could take back. The Stoic mindset teaches you something different. Pause. Wait. Let silence do what anger cannot. In that pause, something sacred happens. You give yourself space to think. You gain control over the only thing that truly belongs to you: your response. Seneca warned that anger is like a storm. Once it begins, it clouds your vision, distorts your judgment, and pushes you into action you'll later regret. But if you can stand still, if you can let the storm pass without joining it, you become untouchable. Not cold, not indifferent, just grounded. Imagine this: you're in a heated conversation. Someone insults you, misunderstands you, provokes you. Everything inside you wants to react, to defend, to fight, but instead you breathe. You don't flinch. You let their words pass through the filter of silence, and when you finally speak, if you choose to, your words are calm, clear, deliberate. That moment of self command, that's real power. Silence isn't about bottling things up, it's about choosing when and how to speak, if at all. Because not every attack deserves your energy. Not every argument needs your reply. Sometimes the strongest message is no message at all. Your calm, your stillness, your refusal to engage in chaos that speaks louder than anything you could say. So next time your anger rises, don't try to win the moment. Try to win your mind. Use silence like a sword, not to wound but to protect. Because the person who stays calm while others lose control always holds the real power. 3. Laugh at problems. Don't take them too seriously. When was the last time you laughed at something that used to make you angry? It's a strange kind of freedom. The moment you stop seeing every obstacle as a personal attack and start seeing it for what it really is, part of the human experience. Life throws problems at everyone. It doesn't care how smart you are, how spiritual, how disciplined. And if you try to fight every difficulty with tension, ego, and emotional fire, you'll burn yourself out long before the battle is over. But laughter, that's a secret weapon. It's not denial. It's not weakness. It's the refusal to be controlled by the absurdity of life. When you laugh at a problem, you shrink it. You strip it of its drama. You send a clear message to your nervous system. This isn't going to break me. Nature understood this deeply. He wrote, "Perhaps I know best why it is man alone who laughs. He alone suffers so deeply that he had to invent laughter." That quote isn't just poetic, it's a philosophy. Laughter is a release valve for suffering. It's a reminder that even in pain, there is still space to breathe. The Stoics weren't emotionless statues. They were observers of life's patterns. They saw the chaos, the unfairness, the pettiness, and they chose not to take it all so seriously. Why? Because seriousness feeds ego, and ego makes every problem feel personal, urgent, offensive. But the moment you drop the ego, the moment you smile at the ridiculousness of it all, you rise above it. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. Your initial impulse is anger, of course. But what if instead you laughed, not out of mockery, but out of perspective? You realize this isn't about you. That person might be having a terrible day, or maybe they're just careless. But either way, why should your peace be the price for their mistake? Or think of a moment when life didn't go your way. A rejection, a failure, a delay. It hurt, yes, but now you might look back and laugh because what once felt like the end turned out to be a redirection. Laughter doesn't make the problem disappear. It just removes its power to dominate you. It turns reaction into reflection. It breaks the cycle of emotional reactivity that so many are trapped in. So, here's a challenge. The next time you feel that wave of frustration rise, pause. Take one conscious breath and smile. Even if it's forced at first, let that smile remind you, this too will pass. It always does. And maybe, just maybe, you don't need to fight it this time. Maybe you just need to laugh, learn, and let go. Because sometimes the most stoic thing you can do is not to win the argument or prove your strength, but to laugh and keep walking. 4. Focus on long term victory, not the current battle. Have you ever won the argument but lost your peace? In the heat of conflict, we often forget what truly matters. We fight to be right, to be heard, to defend our pride. But Stoicism teaches a different kind of strength, the kind that looks beyond the immediate clash and asks, is this moment worth my inner calm? Because the truth is, not every battle is yours to fight, and not every victory is worth the cost. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who lived surrounded by pressure, betrayal, and endless responsibility, said it simply: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the entire game. Your power lies not in controlling others, but in choosing your response, especially when you're provoked. Long term victory isn't about scoring points in an argument. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to. The kind who values growth over ego, who walks away not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Because being calm isn't about being passive, it's about being strategic. You choose which fires are worth putting out and which are better left to burn themselves out. Ask yourself, how many arguments have you had that actually changed anything? How many fights left you feeling truly better? Not just temporarily justified, but genuinely at peace. Most people aren't looking for truth in conflict. They're looking for dominance. And when you take that bait, you give away your energy, your focus, your serenity for what? The Stoic doesn't react impulsively. The Stoic sees the big picture. And that picture says, your life is not a courtroom. You don't need to win every trial. What you need is clarity. Clarity about who you want to become. Clarity about the kind of relationships you want to build. Clarity about what's really at stake. Not your pride, but your peace. Think of the people who inspire you most. Do they explode over every inconvenience? Do they lash out at every misunderstanding? Or do they respond with composure, with grounded presence, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are? Because the truth is, the person who wins the moment often loses the mission. And your mission, your real mission, is to build a life that feels aligned, steady, and strong. A life that isn't thrown off course by every insult, every disagreement, every temptation to fight. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where you feel the urge to react, pause, ask, what am I really trying to prove and to whom? Then zoom out. Look beyond the heat of the moment. Picture the long road, who you're becoming, what you're building, what truly matters, and choose that over and over. That is how you win without fighting. That is how you gain without clashing. That is how you lead, by letting go. 5. Make not getting angry a mental challenge. What if staying calm became your personal sport? We often admire people who have iron discipline in the gym or relentless focus in business. But the real mastery, it's emotional. The ability to remain unmoved when provoked, to hold your center when the world tries to pull you into chaos. That's not passive. That's elite training of the mind. And if you approach it that way, as a mental challenge, as your own private discipline, something remarkable happens. Your anger no longer owns you. You own it. Epictetus said it with razor-sharp clarity. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Read that again. Anyone who can make you lose your temper controls you. They press a button and like a machine you react. But the Stoic refuses to be a puppet. He turns the whole game around. Instead of reacting, he observes. Instead of exploding, he studies. He trains himself to rise above the trigger. So what if you turn this into a practice? Not a philosophy you read about, but a skill you develop. Just like you train your body, you can train your mind. You can wake up each day and set the intention. Today, I will not be mastered by my emotions. I will respond, not react. I will pause, breathe, and remain still. No matter what comes at me doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you channel everything. It means you turn your emotions into information, not ammunition. You say, I'm feeling triggered right now. This is the part where I would usually raise my voice or shut down. But not today. Today, I stay in control. And yes, it's hard, especially when people are unfair, rude, or manipulative. But that's the challenge. Not being calm when it's easy, but when it's justified to be angry, that's where real power lives. And here's the truth: every time you choose calm over chaos, you build mental muscle. Every time you walk away instead of blowing up, you win. Not publicly, not with applause, but privately where it matters most, in your self respect. Make it a game. Count how many times you don't react. Feel the pride in walking away with your integrity untouched. Know that while others are trapped in their own reactivity, you are rising above the noise, clear, focused, untouchable. Because emotional self control isn't about becoming numb, it's about becoming free. 6. Accept the reality of life and people. Why do we suffer so much from what people say and do? It's not always their actions that hurt us the most, it's our expectations of who we thought they would be. We expect loyalty, and we get betrayal. We expect understanding, and we're met with judgment. We expect consistency, and we get confusion. But the problem isn't just them. The problem is that we keep expecting the world to follow our personal script. Stoicism teaches us something radical yet liberating. Accept what is not what you wish it to be. Because the more you resist reality, the more it hurts. It's like trying to stop a river with your hands. The moment you let go and flow with what is, you begin to experience a different kind of peace. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Socrates said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. That includes the people who frustrate you, the ones who ignore you, the ones who hurt you. Behind their behavior is often confusion, fear, or pain, just like yours." This isn't about excusing bad actions, but about understanding the limits of human nature. People can only operate from the level of awareness they've reached, and many haven't reached very far. So what happens when you accept that people will lie sometimes, that they'll act selfishly, that they won't always say thank you, won't always appreciate your effort, and won't always meet your expectations? At first, that idea may feel cold, but sit with it longer and you'll feel the heat of freedom. Because once you stop needing others to behave a certain way for you to be okay, you take your power back. Acceptance isn't the same as giving up. It's not about becoming numb or indifferent. It's about making peace with the limits of control. You cannot control who apologizes. You cannot control who sees your worth. You cannot control how someone responds to your truth. What you can control is whether or not you internalize it, whether or not you allow it to make you bitter, whether or not you carry it with you like a weight that was never yours to bear. And that shift from control to acceptance doesn't make you weaker. It makes you wiser. It allows you to stop wasting your energy on trying to fix everyone, to change people who don't want to change, to get closure from those who never gave you clarity. Instead, you focus inward. You grow in silence. You walk in peace. It's not resignation, it's realism. The Stoic looks at life as it is and still chooses to live with courage. Still chooses to treat people with kindness. Not because they deserve it, but because he does. Because his peace is not reactive, it's chosen. So ask yourself, where am I still fighting reality? Where am I demanding that others be different so I can feel better? And what would happen if I stopped? You'd find more than calm. You'd find your center, that unshakable place inside you that doesn't rise and fall with other people's behavior. Because once you accept life as it is, you finally start living on your own terms. 7. Don't take things personally. How much pain in your life has come from assuming it was about you? The tone of someone's voice, the message they didn't send, the look they gave you, the betrayal you never saw coming. It's human to internalize, to take things to heart, to believe that if someone is rude, distant, or dismissive, it must mean something about you. Maybe you weren't enough. Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you should have been smarter, kinder, louder, quieter. And just like that, you carry someone else's behavior as if it were your identity. But the Stoic refuses that burden. The Stoic knows a powerful truth. Most of what people do is not about you. It's about them, their perception, their story, their pain. And when you learn to live from that truth, your world becomes quieter, cleaner, lighter, because you stop collecting arrows that were never aimed at you. And even if they were, you stop letting them pierce your peace. Don Miguel Ruiz captured this perfectly. Nothing others do is because of you. That doesn't mean your actions don't matter. It means people see you through the lens of their wounds, their fears, their limitations. You might be kind and someone will still call you cold. You might be honest and someone will still call you cruel. You might give everything and someone will still say it wasn't enough. That's not your failure. That's their filter. Taking things personally is the fastest way to become a prisoner of other people's moods. One comment ruins your day. One silence keeps you up all night. One rejection makes you question your worth. But here's the truth. You are never meant to carry that weight. You are not the center of everyone's universe. And that's a good thing because it means you're free. Free to interpret differently. Free to let it pass. Free to return to your own truth before adopting someone else's projection. So the next time you're tempted to internalize, pause, ask, what else could this mean? What if this isn't about me at all? And then ask the deeper question, even if it was about me, does it define me? Because once you stop making everything personal, you stop handing out keys to your peace. You stop letting strangers walk through your self-worth with muddy boots. You become rooted in who you are, not in how others respond to you. That's stoic strength, knowing that you are responsible for your actions, not their reactions. So hold your center, let the storm pass. And remember, not everything deserves your heart. Not every opinion is worth absorbing. And not every moment needs to be understood. Some things are better left unclaimed. 8. Anger never solves anything. Have you ever noticed how anger promises power, but leaves you feeling powerless? In the moment, it feels like fire. It rushes in, gives you a surge of energy, a sharp edge, a sense of control. But once the flames die down, what's left? Broken trust, words you can't take back, silence where there used to be connection. Anger might give you the illusion of strength, but it rarely builds anything lasting. It burns bridges, not builds them. Seneca warned us with painful clarity. Anger, an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. That's the Stoic view in one sentence. Anger doesn't just hurt others, it corrodes you. It lingers long after the argument ends. It replays the scene 100 times in your mind. It eats your peace. And the worst part, most of the time, it solves nothing. The person you yelled at didn't suddenly understand you better. The situation didn't change just because your voice got louder. The problem didn't disappear. It just got messier. So if anger doesn't solve things, why do we keep reaching for it? Because it's easy. It's instinct. It makes us feel like we're doing something when we feel helpless. But Stoicism is about choosing the harder, wiser path. The path that looks like stillness on the outside, but is full of inner control on the inside. It's about breaking the habit of reacting and starting the habit of reflecting. Ask yourself the last time you got angry. What did it give you that calm couldn't have given you better? Was the outcome worth the tension in your chest, the broken connection, the self-blame that came after? Anger is natural, but mastery is intentional. The Stoic doesn't pretend emotions don't exist. He simply refuses to be ruled by them. He sees anger not as power but as a test, a chance to practice stillness in motion, a moment to grow stronger, not louder. Think of the people who truly inspire you, the ones whose presence calms a room instead of igniting it. Are they easily provoked? Do they lash out at every offense? Or do they stay grounded, responding with clarity, not heat? That's who you become when you understand this lesson. Anger never builds. It only burns. So the next time anger rises, don't suppress it. Disarm it. Question it. Ask what it really wants. Ask what your peace is worth. And most of all, remember, no one can take your power unless you hand it over in a moment of heat. Choose calm. Every time you do, you build a life that doesn't collapse when tested. 9. Let go of resentment and grudges. Why do we hold on to what hurts us? It's strange, isn't it? The way we carry pain like a badge. The way we replay betrayals like old songs. The way we speak of forgiveness but still let certain names tighten our chest. We think holding on keeps us safe, as if remembering the wound will protect us from being hurt again. But in truth, it does the opposite. It traps us. It poisons the present with the bitterness of the past. Marcus Aurelius, with the quiet wisdom of a man who ruled an empire but still struggled with betrayal and loss, wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In other words, don't become what broke you. Don't carry what tried to destroy you. Don't give your peace away to ghosts, because that's what resentment is, an anchor. It keeps you tied to what happened, who hurt you, what they said, what they didn't say. And while they move on, maybe even forget, you're still there, reliving the moment, reopening the wound, rewriting a story that already ended. And for what? Resentment doesn't change the past. It doesn't punish the person who wronged you. It punishes you. It clouds your thoughts. It hardens your heart. It turns you into someone you never wanted to become. Defensive, guarded, and emotionally tired all the time. But forgiveness, not for them, but for you. That's different. That's not weakness. That's strength in its purest form. Because to forgive doesn't mean you excuse the wrong. It means you refuse to let it own you anymore. You set yourself free. You say, this hurt me, but it will not define me. Letting go of a grudge is not about forgetting. It's about choosing peace over poison. It's about releasing the burden you've been carrying so long. You've forgotten how heavy it is. And sometimes that release is quiet. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to tell them. You just stop letting the past hijack your future. Think of it like this. Your mind is a home. Resentment is an unwelcome guest that refuses to leave. It eats your energy. It fills your space with anger. And you have the right at any moment to open the door and say, not anymore. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it because your peace matters. Because your future deserves more than echoes of old pain. Because you've carried this long enough and you're finally ready to put it down. So ask yourself, who or what am I still holding on to? And why? Then ask a deeper question. What would my life feel like if I finally let it go? Because that feeling, that lightness, that space, that freedom is available the moment you decide I will no longer carry what doesn't serve my soul. 10. Your role is to guide, not to control. Why do we feel responsible for how others behave? We say we just want the best for them, that we're trying to help, that we see what they can't see. But somewhere underneath that is control, a quiet, desperate need to shape outcomes, correct behavior, or fix people who never asked to be fixed. And that need, no matter how well intentioned, becomes a source of constant tension. We try to control how someone talks to us, how they react, how they grow. We give advice not because they ask for it, but because we want to manage the risk of being hurt, disappointed, or misunderstood again. But control is exhausting and worse. It's ineffective because people don't change when you push them. They change when they're ready. Your pressure won't awaken them. It will only push them further away. Lasso understood this deeply. He wrote, a leader is best when people barely know he exists. Real influence doesn't come from force. It comes from presence, from the quiet example of someone who lives what they believe, who embodies wisdom without preaching it, who shows the way without needing to be followed. The Stoics teach us to let go of what we cannot control, and other people's behavior, decisions, reactions. They've always been outside your control. What you can guide is yourself, your integrity, your clarity, your consistency. And in doing so, you become a mirror, one that reflects back what's possible, not what's demanded. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up on people. It means giving up the illusion that your peace depends on them. It means stepping back without shutting down. It means choosing influence over interference. You support without suffocating. You speak without dictating. You love without needing to be obeyed. So the next time you feel that urge to correct, to lecture, to convince, pause, ask, is this about them or is this about my discomfort with uncertainty? And then remind yourself, my role is not to control. My role is to stay grounded, to act with wisdom, and to lead by being, not by forcing. Ironically, the less you try to control others, the more impact you have because people don't remember what you demanded. They remember how they felt around you. Calm, seen, free, and that feeling. That's what opens hearts. That's what changes lives. 11. Apply the ACD model to reframe how you interpret events. Awareness, control, direction. What if your emotional pain isn't coming from what happened, but from how you interpreted what happened? This is the turning point, the place where Stoicism moves from theory into transformation. Because most people believe their emotions are automatic, uncontrollable. Someone insults them, they feel anger. Someone ignores them, they feel rejection. Life goes off course, they feel despair. But what if between what happens and how you feel, there's a space? And what you do in that space is everything. Carl Jung once wrote, "It all depends on how we look at things and not how they are in themselves." That's the entire essence of the ACD model. Awareness, control, direction. When you apply it, you stop being a passive receiver of life's chaos and start becoming the conscious author of your experience. Awareness is the first step. You catch the moment your emotion begins to rise. Maybe it's tension in your chest. Maybe it's the tight jaw. Maybe it's the story you start telling yourself. They disrespected me. I'm not appreciated. This always happens to me. The moment you become aware, you create space. Space to choose something different. Then comes control, not of the world but of yourself. You can't stop people from being rude. You can't stop life from testing you. But you can control what lens you put on. You can challenge the automatic thought. What else could this mean? Am I projecting? Is this really personal? Or is it just familiar pain being triggered? And finally, direction. The ability to take that awareness and that inner control and point it towards something productive. Instead of spiraling into anger, you redirect toward patience. Instead of collapsing into hurt, you direct it into clarity. Instead of punishing others, you use the moment to strengthen your boundaries, not out of bitterness, but out of self respect. This is not denial. This is emotional alchemy. You take the raw material of experience, even the painful ones, and reshape them into wisdom, into growth, into calm. But it takes practice. It takes slowing down enough to notice your thoughts before they become actions. It takes humility to question your own perception. And most of all, it takes courage. The courage to stop blaming the world and start owning your power. Because once you apply the ACD model consistently, you no longer fear other people's moods. You no longer dread unexpected chaos. You face life with calm readiness, knowing that whatever happens outside, you've trained your mind to respond from the inside. And that shift, that's emotional freedom. That's what makes you unstoppable. 12. Promote solution and compromise. What's more important to you, being right or being at peace? It's easy to get caught up in arguments, to dig in your heels, to defend your position, your pride, your perspective. We all want to be understood. But here's the quiet truth most people miss. The more you fight to win every conflict, the more you lose the connection that actually matters. The Stoics didn't argue to dominate. They spoke to clarify. They didn't debate to destroy. They listened to understand because they knew something powerful. Anger separates, but wisdom builds bridges. Epictetus captured it simply. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. That's not just a clever quote. It's a principle. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reload. They're not seeking common ground. They're preparing their next comeback. And in that state, nothing gets resolved. Only egos grow. Only tension builds. But what if in your next conflict, you step back from the need to win and instead asked, what outcome do I actually want here? Do I want connection, understanding, resolution? Then why argue like I'm preparing for war? Solution requires calm. Compromise requires humility. It means being strong enough to say, maybe we're both right and both wrong. Maybe there's a third option we haven't seen yet. That doesn't mean you become passive. It means you stay open. You hold your truth without turning it into a weapon. The Stoic seeks truth, not victory. They let go of petty arguments not because they can't fight, but because their energy is too valuable to waste on what doesn't elevate. They understand that every disagreement is an opportunity to sharpen the mind, to strengthen the relationship, or to walk away in peace, not in pieces. Compromise doesn't mean you abandon your values. It means you find a path forward that honors the bigger picture. And sometimes that path means saying, let's find a solution that works not just for me, but for us. Because when you choose solution over ego, something powerful happens. You stop burning bridges you'll later need. You stop creating silence where understanding could have grown. You stop punishing people for being imperfect, just like you. So the next time conflict arises, try this. Breathe, listen longer, speak softer, ask better questions, look for the outcome, not the knockout. And remember, your calm isn't just your protection, it's your leverage. 13. Be aware of what happens in your body. What if your body knows you're angry before your mind even catches up? We often think emotions begin in the brain with thoughts, stories, interpretations, but more often they begin in the body. A tightening in the chest, a clenching of the jaw, shallow breath, sweaty palms, a knot in the stomach. These are not random. They're signals, alarms. Your body is trying to tell you something long before your mouth speaks or your mind reacts. Alan Watts said it beautifully. The body does not lie. And the Stoics would agree because one of the keys to mastering anger is catching it before it becomes verbal, before it explodes, before it does damage you can't take back. The truth is, your nervous system reacts faster than your conscious awareness. That moment when someone says something triggering, your body responds immediately. And if you've trained yourself to ignore those signals, if you've been taught to suppress, to distract, to numb, then you lose the chance to intervene. You lose the opportunity to pause, breathe, observe, and choose. That's what emotional mastery is. It's not pretending to feel nothing. It's noticing the feeling early enough to redirect it. It's sensing the surge and saying, I know this pattern. I've seen this before. And this time, I will respond, not react. Your body is a compass. It tells you when you're stepping into old wounds. It tells you when boundaries are being crossed. It tells you when the inner child feels threatened, but only if you're listening. Only if you slow down. Only if you have the courage to feel what you've been trained to avoid. So start paying attention. The next time your heart rate rises, pause. The next time your fists clench, ask what you're holding on to. The next time your breath shortens, take one deep inhale and ask what's really happening here. Because sometimes, a single breath between the stimulus and the reaction is the difference between damage and growth, between regret and maturity, between an old pattern and a new choice. Stoicism isn't about being detached from your body, it's about being deeply in tune with it, using its wisdom as your early warning system, as your signal to ground yourself before the storm arrives. So train yourself to listen not just to others, not just to thoughts, but to your nervous system, to the way your emotions rise, pulse, and move. Because your body remembers everything, even the things your mind tries to forget. And when you learn to listen without judgment, you learn to lead yourself through anything. 14. Be selective with who deserves your attention. Why do we waste our peace on people who haven't earned our energy? There's a deep lesson the Stoics understood, one that most people never learn. Not everyone deserves access to your emotional world. Not every opinion matters. Not every insult is worth responding to. Not every conflict deserves your participation. But the moment you start reacting to everything, you start losing yourself in things that don't matter. Seneca gave this simple, yet profound reminder. Associate with people who are likely to improve you, not people who entertain you, not people who flatter you, people who elevate you, who challenge you with respect, who speak with honesty, who bring you back to yourself, not away from it. Because every conversation you engage in, every response you give, every moment of attention you offer is a transaction. You're trading your time, your clarity, your emotional presence. So the question becomes, is this a worthy trade? The person who insults you online, do they deserve your reaction? The coworker who thrives on drama, do they deserve your inner peace? The stranger who cuts you off in traffic, do they really get to dictate your mood? When you react to everything, you're not defending your honor. You're handing your emotional power to people who haven't earned the right to influence you. And over time, this becomes a habit. You become a puppet, constantly pulled by the energy of others, constantly distracted, constantly depleted. But here's the alternative: emotional selectivity, the conscious decision to choose your battles and, more importantly, to choose your silences. Because sometimes silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's saying, I don't need to fight every fire, I just need to stop fueling it. Being selective doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means valuing your focus. It means understanding that your attention is a precious resource, not something you hand out freely to every provocation. It means realizing that calm is your responsibility and chaos is a choice. So, how do you start? You begin by observing, noticing the people, situations, and triggers that pull you into unnecessary emotional noise. And then you pause, you breathe, you ask, does this deserve me? And if the answer is no, you let it pass. You protect your peace the same way you protect your home. By setting boundaries, by not letting every stranger walk through your mind, by deciding what gets to stay and what needs to go. And the result, you become grounded, centered, less reactive, more powerful, because the person who controls where they place their attention controls their reality. 15. Use gratitude as a tool against anger. What if the antidote to your anger isn't more control, but more appreciation? Anger thrives in a mind focused on what's missing, what's unfair, what should have been. It feeds on expectations unmet and outcomes undesired. But gratitude, true practice gratitude, shifts the entire frame. It turns your attention away from what went wrong and brings it back to what's still right. Marcus Aurelius, facing war, betrayal, illness, and the burdens of empire, wrote, "Don't hanker after what you don't have. Instead, fix your attentions on the finest and best that you have, and imagine how much you'd long for these if they weren't in your possession." That's the Stoic way. Not blind positivity, not forced smiles, but the discipline of appreciation, the power to focus on what remains even when the storm rages. You see, anger clouds your vision. It narrows your awareness to one thing, the offense, the injustice, the disrespect. It creates a tunnel, but gratitude opens it. It reminds you you are more than this moment. Life is more than this conflict. And the second you return to gratitude, something quiet shifts inside you. Not because the situation changes, but because you do. Try this next time. Anger rises, pause, and name three things you're grateful for. Not to escape the moment, but to reclaim perspective. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's a friend who always shows up. Maybe it's the breath you're taking right now. The chance to reset instead of react. This simple shift turns anger into awareness, reaction into reflection. And here's the deeper truth. Anger often arises when we take things for granted, when we feel entitled, when we expect things to go our way. But gratitude humbles you. It brings you back to reality, not as punishment, but as clarity. You stop asking, why is this happening to me, and start asking, what can I still learn, still value, still protect in this moment? This isn't about denying your anger. It's about giving it context. It's saying, yes, this hurt, but it's not everything. It's remembering that peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of perspective. And gratitude gives you that immediately, quietly, powerfully. So, let it be your reset button, your inner compass, your shield. Because in a world constantly trying to stir your emotions, the calm person is not the one who avoids pain. It's the one who can still see beauty through it. And once you learn to do that consistently, intentionally, your anger loses its grip and your spirit rises untouched. So now you've seen it. The truth that so few are willing to face. Your calm was never about the world around you. It was always about the world within you. Every angry reaction, every lost temper, every word you wish you could take back, it all comes from giving your power away moment by moment to people and situations that don't deserve to hold it. But that ends now. Because once you begin to apply these Stoic lessons, not just read them, not just agree with them, but live them, you begin to reclaim something sacred. You start to realize that peace isn't passive. It's not soft. It's not silence born of fear. It's strength. It's the kind of strength that doesn't scream to be heard. It just stands unshaken. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to fix everyone or everything. You only need to master the space between stimulus and response, the space where your real life is decided. And yes, it takes practice. Yes, you'll fall, you'll forget. You'll react when you swore you'd stay calm. But that's not failure. That's training. Every moment is another rep. Every conflict is another opportunity to choose stillness over noise, wisdom over ego, direction over reaction. So ask yourself now, as this episode ends, who do I want to become? The one who is constantly pulled or the one who calmly leads? Because you're not here to be ruled by anger. You're here to rise above it. And when you do, people will notice. But more importantly, you will notice. You'll feel the difference in your breath, in your choices, in your mind. You'll stop burning inside. Every time life tests you, you'll start responding with power, with presence, with purpose. That's the path. And it begins now in silence, in awareness, in the small decisions that no one sees, but that shape everything. If this episode gave you clarity, peace, or power, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, subscribe, leave a comment below, and tell me which of these Stoic lessons will you start applying today. Your peace is your responsibility, and now you know how to protect it. Thank you for listening and subscribe. Comment on the channel.